Years ago, I heard a coach say something to the effect of, if you're not making any money in your business, it's not a business, it's a jobby. And I thought, what in the world is a jobby? Well, she defined it as a job that is not making any money. So it's more of a hobby. So she just kind of made up the word jobby. And I thought that was the most hilarious thing for many of us business owners who are spinning our wheels and not making any money. And so we have a jobby.
Hey, teacher friend. Welcome to Online Business for Teachers, the podcast for educators who are tired of being tired and wondering if there's more out there. Are you up late Googling online jobs for teachers or how to make extra money from home? Do you dream about starting a business, working from home, or finally getting paid for the resources you've already created without adding more stress to your plate? I'm Monica Lopez, a former teacher who was burnt out, overwhelmed, and secretly searching for a way out. I wanted more time with my kids, the freedom to work from home, and a way to make money doing something I actually enjoyed. That's when I discovered the simplest path, creating and selling my own teacher resources, using the skills I already had. Now, I help teachers like you turn your ideas into income with step-by-step guidance, real talk about finding time to grow your business, and the mindset shifts that help you believe it's actually possible. So close those lesson plans and grab your favorite drink. It is your turn now.
All right, guys, I honestly love data and I love making decisions from it. But I want to be transparent too, because to me, data is not everything, at least not where I am now. I used to stress over number of views and conversion rates, pricing and followers and reviews and all the things. And don't get me wrong, those things are important, but to me, the most important thing is, am I increasing my revenue? And I don't mean it in a greedy way. I mean it from a business point of view, because if we're not making money, we're not in business, right? I hope everyone listening to this is not thinking, oh, she's so greedy and she just wants to take everyone's money. I truly hope that we are all over that type of mindset. If I'm offending you, I'm so sorry. This podcast is about how to make more money as a teacher. So there's that. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, let's get started with today's episode. All right, so last year was a learning year for me. It was my first year focusing on my business full time, and it was definitely not what I expected it to be. So today I want to tell you about my decisions going forward with my business in hopes that it helps you when you're setting goals for your business. Disclaimer though, I am speaking from my perspective because it's what I know. Goals and numbers are different for everyone. So the first thing I want to say about goal setting is that you want to keep your goals semi-reasonable. And I want to tell you that I struggled with this because I've always been the person that wants to set those impossible goals, the goals that are like way out there, because I don't want to limit myself to say, oh, I only want to make this amount of money because this is what I think I can make. So I really struggled with trying to make a semi-reasonable goal, especially when we talk about revenue, because semi-reasonable seems to me, or even reasonable. I like semi-reasonable because it's kind of like, yeah, it's reasonable, but yeah, I'm still pushing myself a little bit. At the beginning, there's the word reasonable, but then I thought, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm not pushing myself enough. Okay. So I'm just going to stick with the word semi-reasonable. So when I talk about semi-reasonable, I want you to think about the amount of time that you have so that you might be able to stretch yourself to reach that goal by the end of the year, by the end of the quarter, by the end of the month, depending on how you are setting up your goals. Okay, so keep your goals semi-reasonable with the time that you have and based on the amount of money that you made the year before. So, like, if you increased your revenue by 50%, then maybe this year you also set 50% as your revenue goal because yes, it's going to be bigger, but it's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to double my revenue, knowing that it's going to take maybe more effort, more time, or even more strategy because it doesn't necessarily have to be that you are spending more time in your business, but it does mean that if you're not spending more time, then you need to have a different strategy or you need to have a different skill. So it's not just about more time in order to make more money. It is about who do you have to be to become that person that makes that amount of money. Okay. So I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I really wanted to explain what quote unquote reasonable or semi-reasonable means in my brain because I truly, truly struggle with that. But it's helping me because I tend to set really big goals. And by the end of the year, if I don't meet them, then it just brings my energy way down. So keep that in mind, okay, when you are setting your goals. If you are in your first year of business, you are pretty much just looking to see what's out there. Yes, you can set goals, but you truly don't even know what is going to happen in your business. So just set your goals loosely. The second year in business, you are going to make huge income gains because the first year was a starter year and you may have made very little based on when in the year you started your business. So, for example, if you started in January, you will have made more money than if you started in September. Okay, so keep that in mind. The second year, for the most part, you will have made so much more money than your first year. So doubling or tripling your income is very possible. However, when you get into the next few years of your teacher business, your income may start to plateau. Again, this all depends on whether you put more time or effort or strategy or skill into it or not, or also whether you hired help or you ran ads or whatever you may or may not have done. So the first thing to know is set your goals loosely or set them quote unquote semi-reasonably based on what your intentions are for the year and depending on what stage of business that you are in, such as maybe you're in the product creation year or scaling year, pivoting year. It all just depends on where you are in your business. All right, all that set aside, I want to talk about a tool that I use that has really helped me keep track of all the things. I love it so much because not only do I see the entire year clearly, but it also helps me see all the progress that I have made throughout the year that I may or may not be giving myself credit for. I just started to use it in the middle of 2025. So I don't have too much data, but I'm excited to use it in 2026 and compare my data to 2025. I had used a paper one kind of like this one over the years, and although it worked, this one has really taken it to the next level and actually helped me make decisions in my business based on what has been working and what has not. So that way I don't have to guess and spiral. I honestly love it because I can see the data and that helps me calm my emotions. You know, the emotions like those that you wake up with in the morning that tell you that nothing is working and you should just throw in the towel. I'm not the only one that has those thoughts in the morning, right? By looking at the data in this tool, you can make the decisions based on data, not just on your thoughts and feelings. And you can make decisions month to month as well. I call it the Teacher Business KPI Tracker because it's specifically made for teacher entrepreneurs. And what makes it different from the paper one I had been using is that I can add as many income streams as I want. Right now, I have it set to 5 other than TPT, but you don't have to use them all, nor do you have to stick to 5. You can easily add more rows to make it fit your business, or you can just not use the extra ones that are included in the tracker. All right, what all is included in this tracker, you might be asking? Well, it starts off with TPT, because most of us start with TPT, but you don't have to use that if you're not a TPT seller. You can easily change it to your primary business. In this section, you can track how many products you have each month, how many you have added each month, and it just adds them together so that you have a clear picture of how many you have total at the end of the year and how many products you created at the end of the year. There is also a spot for TBT followers and reviews. I absolutely love to see this from a bird's eye view because it helps me see how many reviews have been left and how they have been increasing, even though sometimes it seems like watching paint dry, right? When you input your data here on a month-to-month basis, you don't have to keep going back and forth to check to see how much you've been growing. You can see it all right there. Same with the store followers. And if you're like me, like last year, my TPT store didn't grow as much as previous years. But when I went to my KPI tracker, I could easily see that I didn't add very many products at all. So the fact that my TPT income grew even just a little bit was great. And yeah, same for followers and reviews and all of the things. Which brings me to the next section, the revenue section. Here, I can input my TPT income and my other sources of income as well. And when I look at last year's, I can see that one specific source grew exponentially. What that tells me is where focus goes, energy flows. So in this tracker, I can see that so clearly. There's also a spot for Facebook members tracking. Like if you have a Facebook group, you can track how many members are coming in each month. Also for your email subscribers, your open rate, click rate, website data such as visits and page views and blog posts published, all the things. I also added a spot for monthly TPT rank, Pinterest data, and social media data if that's your thing. So what does this have to do with setting my goals? Well, at the end of the year, I went back to see what part of my business is growing the most. This helps me decide where to put more of my efforts in. I also see how my email subscribers and Facebook group is growing, and that helps me decide what I need to do to grow each of them, or also help me decide if I even want to keep that specific thing. Okay. I can also see where to put my efforts as far as social media and Pinterest and all of the things if I decide to use those. Right now, I will tell you that I started looking at my Pinterest data. I have not pinned anything or created any more pins since like 2 years ago. And all of a sudden, I'm getting all these Pinterest views. So I'm not exactly sure what Pinterest is doing or if Pinterest is truly like that long game that everybody says. But I decided to go ahead and add a section for Pinterest because I would just want to see how it's doing. So if that's your thing, you can track it there as well. So let me tell you how this tracker has actually changed how I view my business. I can see in my tracker that my TPT sales plateaued, but my other income source soared. So this shows me that my total revenue increased, which is essentially what we all want, right? Now, if I only went by my TPT dashboard, I would be freaking out, which I kind of was, I'm not going to lie, because I was used to just checking that specific platform multiple times a day, and sometimes my sales were down and others they were slightly up and others were about the same. Y'all, this is too much for my teacher brain. In fact, I was freaking out. I was used to steady income with zero fluctuations, as any teacher really is, right? But when I really slowed down and looked at the numbers in this tracker, I was able to calm my nervous system down a bit, even when my numbers were unsteady. So before you go all in with the numbers, I want to warn you against it. When you focus too much on the numbers, you spend all of your time and your energy on that, and you have no more energy for what is really important. So let me guide you through what you should focus on depending on where you are in your business. And I might be going off on a tangent again because I was going to tell you about the tracker and how I use my tracker to set my goals and all of those things. But I know that some of you are going to go dig deep into your data, and then you're going to forget that you are actually creating value for other teachers, and you'll start spinning and spinning and spinning in your data and not really going anywhere. So I want to go ahead and put this out there so that you don't focus on the wrong things. All right. So if you are in year 1, track your products. During this stage of your business, you're only creating products. Don't try to track anything else because you're going to go crazy trying to compare to nothing or to the previous month, or worse yet, to other people. Please don't compare yourself to other sellers. It's a trap and you're going to lose. Okay? So stop. Focus on product creation and maybe, just maybe, one more thing, depending on the number of products that you have in your store and when it is in the year that you are starting. If you're in year 2 or 3, track your revenue and your email list too. If you haven't started an email list, this is a really good time to start, depending on how many products you have in your store. Track year-over-year growth. That way you can actually see your growth. This is important at this stage because growth seems to be so slow. When you track your year-over-year growth, you'll see that you're not as far behind as you think you are. I actually love to see my growth from a bird's eye view because it gives me a clearer picture rather than stressing over the day-to-day sales. All right. Now, if you are past the first few years, you're at the scaling phase. Track your automations, your other sources of income, and or like your Facebook ads metrics if that is where you are. Okay. In any case, what you track depends on the season that you are in. If you're a full-time teacher with limited hours, track the things that you can actually control. Track your product count, your email list growth, or your monthly revenue, whatever you can handle during the season that you are in. Track the things that calm your nervous system. If revenue stresses you out, track your product count instead. If followers stress you out, track your email list. Pick the metric that gives you peace instead of panic. The whole point is to feel more grounded, not more overwhelmed. Okay? All right, my friends, that is it for today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Oh, and don't forget to check out the Teacher Business KPI Tracker. The link is in the show notes. Bye-bye.
Hey, teacher friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If this show is helping you dream a little bigger, would you take 30 seconds to leave a quick review? It means the world to me, and it helps more teachers find their way to this podcast. I'll meet you back here next week. Take care and keep dreaming bigger.